Just wanted to make this really quick video just because regarding the title of this video, or down here, it's the bottom, isn't it? The bottom of the screen. I'd really like to meet this lady, Deborah, this American lady. That's what this little video is about. Um, this American lady, this cancer patient. Um, yeah, though I'm feeling very ill myself. Um, I mean, to detract from what this little video is about, I really am just, I'm really scared. Really, really, really scared. Um, I just don't know what's going to happen to me. I'm exhausted walking up and down the stairs. I feel really quite sick. It's taking me a long time to do anything basic, and I'm just genuinely very scared. I'm very scared. I, I I'm in arrears paying for storage in more than one place, and where am I going to go? And I've got to chase up all these complaints, these very serious complaints. Um, but number one is the doctor, because I will have to call an ambulance round here. I will. I've just got no choice. So I didn't even know that I had what is potentially a life-threatening condition. I thought that I was worn out from the stress, from the homelessness, from this gang stalking, this harassment, and all these nutcases, and the corruption and everything that's going on around me. I thought that's why I was worn out. I didn't realise, but I know that stress is a killer. So, and I still want to meet this public figure up in London. Anyway, so keeping to the point of this video, but I am genuinely very, very, very scared. My money's obviously running out, and you know, there's only one there's only one place to go after this. You know what I'm saying without actually saying it. Um, but anyway, no. Black belt barrister. I was watching this YouTube video from 3 weeks ago, and an American lady, a vulnerable cancer patient. She even said to the police, "You can see that I'm bald." She said, "I've gone through chemotherapy. I'm a vulnerable woman. She's vulnerable. She's on her own, and She's had cancer treatment. She's gone through chemotherapy, and the police are harassing her for her free speech." Now, what I'm about to say, I want to meet, I'd really, really like to meet this Deborah. Not because she's a cancer patient, although that is like, that is like red alert, like, you know, it's because she's American. But then to hear that she's got, because I couldn't see this woman, I saw this clip from, is it TikTok? Um, and all I could hear, the woman is holding the camera, and she you can hear her that she's North American because of her accent, but to then hear her say that she's a cancer patient, because you can't see her, she's filming the police in her house, in her home, and she's, you know, I thought, great, she's American, or Canadian. I think she's American. But she's like, she's saying, what the hell are you doing in my home? Why aren't you out there, you know, um, uh, solving crimes, burglaries, rape, you know, murder, attacking me for my free speech? How dare you? I'm a cancer patient, that sort of thing. And because I thought, as soon as I saw the clip on the black belt barrister, I thought, great, she's American. I've got to meet this lady. And then she said she had cancer, and I was just like, oh, I felt even more like, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. I want this to be taken the right way. But as I'm finding with myself, good things come out of evil, out of our suffering, out of our torture. That's how you get the reparation. And it actually has to take for something like that to happen, because the Americans are no bullshit. Pardon my language, but my late mother, I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million times over. My mother would be 87. She travelled the world. She had an amazing life in America and Canada and New Zealand, and travelling the world and probably other places as well. But, I think she took some of that New York away with her, because she already, it's not just the fact that my mother was no nonsense, it was the fact that she had it in herself to be no nonsense. She was still set apart from her generation, because in the sense that she was unique. So my mother's generation take no nonsense. Although surprisingly, I've found there are a lot of idiots of her age, which I find truly shocking, because I have respect for my elders, although of course I was bullied by the elderly when I did care work. There were some lovely elderly people, but it can be quite a shock to the system when you've always respected your elders, and yet the interesting thing is that sometimes it's the young people, it's the teenagers, it's the children who are far more mature than the elderly people, because you think to yourself, oh, they're the ones that are pushing all this nonsense. No, they're being brainwashed. But you've got that 17-year-old lad who, I mean, crumbs, he's a year younger than baby Rhiannon. I haven't seen baby Rhiannon since she was 2. Never saw her again. My mother held her as a baby. I was meant to be her godmother. She'd be 18 now. That very mature 17-year-old. And they're doing a funding his legal case. Do you know what? It must be costing. It's costing millions. Must be costing the absolute earth to fund all this corruption that's going on. And I'm fighting to get this sorted out. This landlady that's got my possessions, that's in contempt of court, and I'm fighting. I'm very frightened. I really am very, 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 very frightened. But I'd like to speak to this woman, Deborah, this American lady. Um, there's so obviously so much I could tell her about, you know, if I could get hold of my late mother's friends, and in New York, that would be great. That would, wouldn't it? Because she was married into the mafia. This was a woman who slept with a gun beside her bed, and the last time I saw her was a year before Mum died when she came over here. She'd never been to Eastbourne before, and I actually said I'd like to be a bit like you. What I meant was the Americanization of the straight talking, no nonsense. Well, I am straight talking, but no, but I still got that British stiff upper lip stoicism that's been forced onto me, so to speak, because it's that's just the way it is. We're programmed in certain ways. We're conditioned. But I have got the American mentality in it naturally there, but because of the stiff upper lip, it kind of takes over your life, and it's a survival thing. But we are being, I am refugee in my own homeland, and as Tommy Robinson, who was in court today, I don't know what the outcome was. It's very frightening. They will not leave him alone. Another threat of prison, all to do with the grooming gang thing. He said we're going to be a minority very soon, as in white British people. And John Alexander Patterson of the Royal Commission said to me, "Don't kill yourself because that is what they want." And these criminals at Eastbourne Borough Council have been doing this to me. So I'm fighting for survival. I would really like to meet Deborah, this American lady in the UK. We need you. We need Roseanne Barr. We need Donald Trump. We need the Americans. I've thought that all my life. We need the Americans. I mean, me and Mum. Oh, I was so glad when Anne stayed with Mum, and she was appalled to see how English people behave on a night out. I mean, obviously, we're talking about really the worst of the worst, the ones that make it onto the telly, doing everything in the street that's just Babylonian hellfire, just leaving nothing to the imagination, shall we say. Yeah, that's English ladies for you on a night out. Yes, the ladies like me have died out. We're a rare breed. Now, Alan said to me, Alan, who knows all these rich lords and ladies, his father was a high-ranking Freemason. He said to me, "No, you are a true lady. You really are a true lady." And I thought, yeah, is that why you're rubbing my hand? Yeah, but no, no, that's a generational thing coming out there, the Freemason thing. But yeah, the only other person who said that I'm a lady was Adamant's girlfriend. Told his African American friends to behave with me because I'm a lady. I'm a lady. I'm a lady. But even my mother thought that I was a Jane Austen lady. But that's because of how she brought me up. So I owe it all to my mother. Um, but I've always wanted to break free from the Stoicism and be Americanized. Um, because I don't take BS. Um, and I really, really need to, because I want to, I'm now feeling, I can feel the tension, and I feel for the first time in my life, I really want to get out of the UK, but I can't because I'm a vulnerable adult. All these problems, I can't leave the town. I need help in Eastbourne, and that's what the idea of that letter to the House of Commons was meant to be about, from my partner's friend who turned unpleasant towards me twice, and he's deluded himself, but then so many people are deluding themselves. Oh, I've just had enough of all the toxicity and narcissism and abuse. I've just had enough of it all. Just tell the truth, for crying out loud. For the truth shall come out. Like I said, I'm being pushed to extremes. I've been pushed to extremes. That's what this is all about. And then because of that vulnerability, and of course the police having my details, then they think they can do whatever they want. That's why they came after me for my free speech, making up lies over a civil matter. And even if I had done the things that they accused me of, so what? I mean, I wouldn't do those things because I love my sister, and they were even trying to get me on. I mean, I think that police officer, whatever he was, that boy that was questioning me in the interview, he looked like he was going to cry. He looked like he didn't want to be doing this. They were trying to invert my love as hatred. I said, have you seen my YouTube video? I said, I mean, I think the solicitor just wanted me to button it because I'm too honest. I said, I've made a video with the title saying, I love my sister Bronya no matter what. And I think the title of the YouTube video was, I love my sister Bronya and Darren no matter what. And they were trying to say that this was hatred. Now, even if I had made a vitriolic video saying I hate Bronya and I hate Darren, oh, hatred, 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 and and transphobic, whatever that means, phobia, anything with the word phobia in the word phobic. Hello. Since when did trauma and phobia become a crime? Oh, I've got a phobia of spiders. Right. I'm gonna be arrested because I've got arachnophobia. Oh, I've got oh, I don't know. Got a phobia of maybugs. Arrest me. So anything with the word phobic, I mean, they've come up with this Islamophobic and transphobic. These words never even used to exist. I didn't even know what they meant when they said, like, what? What the hell does that mean? They're making up these words. Freedom of expression. Suddenly it's like, whoa, I'm in some weird sci-fi George Orwell's 1984, you know? I love my sister and I would never do those things, but even if I did, it's not a crime. I've had men shout all kinds of things at me. Some of them have been complimentary, some of them have been sexist and vile, and you know, always had a bloke because you know when I used to look like a drag queen when you know I'm 6 foot tall, and when I wore 7 inch platforms with big hair out here and false eyelashes and stuff, then I did look like a bloke. But you know, if they're like nice, Nice face, shame about the legs. Nice this, nice ass. Which they do, which the police do actually want to criminalise. I used to get wolf whistles. I used to get loads of wolf whistles. Oi, oi, you know. And I used to love all of that. Wolf whistles when I was in my 20s. If I get one now, I'd be very grateful. And I have had one recently, one or two wolf whistles recently. I don't like it now. I liked it in my 20s. I don't like it now. But am I going to call the police? No, no, Eastbourne police. Yeah, you lot need to grow a pair. And Nick Tenconi, you are absolutely spot on. Skinny jeans on men. Oh, they look terrible on women. I used to, do you know what? I like 70s fashion. I like big bell bottom flares. Okay, I'm 6 foot tall. It's very difficult. It's impossible to get bell bottom flares. I did have a pair of big bell bottom flares, but because of that bloody Jackie and her son Jamie. Yes, now I'm saying something unpleasant because you lied to me, Jamie. Jamie, who knows me from Annecy in Seaford, my old primary school, who are now renting out, who are now, sorry, using the council for my childhood best friend's house that she was born into. I had a lovely pair of bell bottom flares that they're impossible to get when you're 6 foot tall. And they were incredibly cheap as well for bell bottom flares for a tall woman. Now, skinny jeans, they look horrible. They look terrible, but it's the fashion for both men and women. They look terrible on women, so just think how terrible they look on men. And Nick Tanconi is spot on because it's exactly what I thought. And that's exactly why I found men so unattractive. This is why I'm a so called spinster. Alice Victoria Scott, who should be in prison, who's in contempt of court for her crimes against me. That's why I'm a spinster, yes. Not just the mentality. All of this is by design, and Nick Tanconi knows what he's talking about. He's 2 years young. Yeah, he's 2 years younger than me. I was born in March 82. Nick was born in March 84. And he could see it himself. Skinny jeans on men, they look terrible on. Do you know what? Over 10 years ago, I read an online, not an online, in a women's magazine. There was this awful story about a woman who had to be cut out of a pair of skinny jeans. They're so dangerous, they can cut your circulation. And what happened to this woman? She did, I mean, admittedly, she did have, without being rude, slightly chunky thighs. But even if you're quite slim, uh, the tightness, it doesn't feel natural. They feel like they could cut your circulation even if you're fairly slim. And because that's how I used to feel wearing skinny jeans over a decade ago. They were horrible. And like I said, they look horrible, but they feel uncomfortable. So I like nice, loose. The 1970s flares are far more attractive. They're far more flattering on a woman's body, and skinny jeans just make you look fatter anyway. But this woman, the photograph of the damage, she nearly had to have her leg amputated because of the skinny jeans. So that's another thing that, that I should that's something that I should bring up if I get to meet Nick Nick Tenconi. So but because he's talking about we need to get make men again. We need to take back our country, but women need to be women as well. And of course, I had a female police officer say to me that I need to be the man in the relationship. No, no. If Darren really is a man of Yahweh, then he needs to be a man. He needs to take the lead, take responsibility for himself, and look after the woman that said he sees as a wife. He told me he saw me as a wife 9 years ago. He wanted a child with me. You have to marry me then. You're not going to live in sin. Make me a woman of Yahweh, the head of the house. That's what I'm. I've grown up without a father figure. I need a man. I need a man in Christ, in Yeshua. And this is what Nick Tenconi is all about. So it's not just about taking back our country. There's loads of things that he can see. And this thing of refusing to call my sister a man, if I'd wanted to be the man in the relationship, don't you think I would have done? Anyway, I'm also on that note, like I said, I'd like to meet this American lady, Deborah, and I'd also like to meet Graham Linehan, who wrote Father Ted. I was 13 when I started watching Father Ted. He wrote the Father Ted, and I absolutely wet myself laughing. I can still remember the first time I, there are certain bits when I just wet myself laughing out loud. When it's that bit when they're it's the bit where Father Ted says, "When a man and woman really love each other," I just remember when I was 13, just laughing like that would have been 1995, when I was chasing after Michael Flatley. And then a year later, he kissed me on the lips, thanks to my mother. And I truly believed I was going to marry. I truly believed I was going to marry Father Ted. I was going through my Irish phase as well. I've always wanted to do Irish dancing ever since I was a child. Couldn't find anywhere. I'm now 43, so but it's still on my bucket list. I'm still gonna, I will honestly, I'm not joking. It's on my bucket list. If it means getting a 3-year-old to show me how to do Irish dancing, if I'm in my 50s or 60s, as long as I'm still on my feet, I will get a toddler to show me how to Irish dance. It's such a shame because I've got these long legs. I'm 6 foot tall, and it's a waste of legs, isn't it? I just used to watch Michael Flatley, and my legs would be like, "Ugh," in the audience. I could feel my legs, doing that because of the adrenaline. And I watched him practicing behind the curtain. Very powerful show, even though it's got druids in it. And yes, Irish Satanism and paganism. And that girl that was murdered in North Carolina, Charlotte, North Carolina. That's where my college friend went to her funny church. She was into Benny Hinn. She went to a funny church in Charlotte, North Carolina, and she put the video of Lord of the Dance on, and then she was like, "I can't watch this. No, I'm not watching this." I said, "Why? Is it because of the word Lord? Is it because of the word because he's No, I never saw Michael Flatley as doing anything blasphemous. Although some years later, I saw a clip of him pretending to walk on water, and that did actually shock me and upset me. But I've since learned about everything anyway. You know, my next idol, whose friend worked across the road, his famous punk friend worked across the road from our house in Seaford. All these famous people, Darth Vader ringing me up. To this day, Mum and Iris, if Mum was still alive, I know Iris is in very poor health, but they still believe to this day that Adamant called for me, rang on the doorbell, but he really does worship Baphomet. So, you know, I'm not offended by Michael Flatley pretending to walk on water. Lord of the Dance. It's a difficult one because that was actually my one of my favourite hymns in church. But like I said, the Christian church is full of paganism. I was a Catholic, so when I used to sing, no, wherever you may be, I am the Lord of the Dance, said he. To be honest, I'm more annoyed with the fact that my friend Leanne, who used to tease me when we walked home from school, she said to me, she convinced me that Michael Flatley was a Leo, like my sister. And it took me all these years to learn that actually his birthday is the 16th of July. So we're very compatible, me and Michael Flatley. So but that's because I was into, astrology, which again, all this satanic stuff, you got the Irish Druids, astrology, all of that. I've gone off on a tangent again. Notice how I've gone off on a tangent. I'm really annoyed that I'd love to know what happened to my Irish tin whistle. I used to play some Irish tunes using the same tin whistle that was in the show Lord of the Dance, the little spirit creature played by that young girl. Yeah, the girl, I was jealous of those girls. They were only 16. They were 2 years older than me, and they were so talented. And of course, they got to be very intimate with Michael Flatley in the show, and I wanted to be on stage with them. I wanted to be. It's funny because there are some very strange parallels between Michael Flatley and my next idol, Adamant, because he too had two young girls on stage with him, two young women like Snow White and Red Rose, one with long blonde hair and one with long black hair, just like Michael Flatley. And Adamant, just like Michael Flatley, used to wear black leather trousers and a bare chest, dripping sweat. It's like, whoa, hormonal stuff. And of course, the fact that they're both water signs like me, astrology added into this magical mixture of fantasy for me. But you can see why it's been so easy for me to disassociate from mental health when I've got all this, you know, stuff, and obviously having a very middle class upbringing and the blessings that come with that. I had a mother who was a single mother who worked very hard, and she died of a rare cancer. The stress killed her in the end. I was in that hellhole opposite this hotel that was meant to be a supported accommodation, and the council forced me to sign a homeless application 6 days before my mother died of cancer across the road. And next door to that is the hellhole where I had bed bugs crawling on me, and the council um, made me homeless. I was thrown to the ground by a police officer with a taser and a gun because I showed the council evidence of bed bugs crawling on me. Yeah, you try and make sense of that one. So yeah, it has all been very particularly the last 9 years, but since I've been with my partner Darren, but before that, I don't like how he uses my sisters to scapegoat. Oh, there's been so much scapegoating. So yeah, talking just to, I'm going to finish on a positive note. The tin whistle. I miss that tin whistle. Next door used to hear me playing, and I learned to play Jingle Bells on the flute as well when I was 14. That was but yeah, Mum bought this Irish tin whistle back from Ireland, and I'm a natural with wind instruments, I think, including my own wind instrument. But yeah, and I'm not talking about that one. But yeah, what was I going to say? Um, yeah, I could actually play Lord of the Dance on the tin whistle, and it's the exact same one from the Lord of the Dance show. It's gold with a green mouthpiece, and yeah. Do, 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 do. Do, 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 do. Anyway, what got me onto Michael Flatley? Oh, Graham Linehan. Yeah, obviously, I've gone off on a tangent. Graham Linehan, like Katie Price, if you're not from the UK. So, Graham Linehan wrote Father Ted, and of course, I was going through my Irish phase. Now, I hadn't realised that he had children and he's exposed. Now, he's Irish, but he's living in the UK, and the police have had him in court. That they've been torturing him here in the UK so much, just simply because he has said the truth about the transgender thing, and I can't even remember the medical terms that he used, but I was watching him being interviewed a few days ago by someone, and this is why I'm so worried about my sister, because I didn't know. I knew that she'd gone through some sort of a trans thing, but I didn't know that she was disabled. And there are women on YouTube who are talking about the dangers of transitioning, women who have transitioned themselves from female to male, and they're talking about the dangers. And I hadn't realized that my sister was critically disabled, because the reason why I stopped talking to my sisters is because they were a nightmare. They hate each other. They were fighting when my mother died. I was meant to get help from adult social care. This is what this is all about. There's all this jealousy, using me as a uh, piggy in the middle, as always. And threats to stay away from my late mother's flat, where my transgender sister lives. I haven't been there since my mother died because she bullied me. My first Christmas without my mother, she was bullying me, and I had to get out of the flat. I had to keep away from her. and I got into such a vulnerable position with a man in some man's flat in Seaford. He started touching my legs and thighs, and and I text Robert, my careers advisor friend. I said, I've got to get out of this position. Can you ring me or something? I'm very, I felt scared because this man was saying, no, you're not leaving. And I thought, oh my gosh. And the irony is that since then, I'd practiced some Lindsay DePaul techniques with Robert. Um, I had this video that was given to me in the early 90s when I was a child, when I was about 9 years old. And the irony is that the following year, in 2010, after my mother died, the following year, I put someone in prison for attempted rape, 2 years in prison and 10 years on a sex offenders register. And I used the Lindsay DePaul technique from a 90s video that I'd had as a child. Because it might have even been Janet. It might have even been Janet, Mum's best friend's daughter, who's oh, someone gave Mum that Lindsay DePaul video of taking control. She's brilliant. She's brilliant. The wonderful late Lindsay DePaul. And yeah, so what was I saying? So basically, going back to Graham Linehan, he has exposed. He was saying about this 24-year-old who recently died. I think it was recently a 24-year-old died from the surgery of having the male part, a fake male part, and he went into very upsetting graphic detail about what they do to these young girls. And this young girl had look, I can't you'd have to watch it for yourself. You'd have to watch it for yourself. And just watch Paul Joseph Watson's video the other night about what's happened in Germany, because what is happening in Germany is happening here as well. Do you know? Do you know? My mother said, I'll say it again. My mother said we'd all be speaking German if the Germans had won the war. We would not have our freedoms, the freedoms that we've been enjoying for all these decades. We'd be speaking German and we would not have these freedoms that people died for. People died so that I could have this freedom of expression. I I I don't like earlier I was talking about wolf whistles, right? I like wolf whistles when I was in my 20s. I don't like them now. I take it as a compliment if I did get one, and I did recently get one. I didn't like it because I'm older now. I'm not a young woman, but I take it as a compliment. And in any case, it's freedom of expression in the same way that if a man wants to call me a bitch or something nasty and vile, so long as he's not a public servant, so long as it's not in my own home, like these vile, dangerous creatures that attacked me, these convicted criminals and nutters, you know, people have freedom of expression, they have free speech. Don't arrest them because, oh, so and so said that, or they said these hurty words. I'll report it as antisocial behaviour because I'm not going to be attacked in my own home. But they got freedom of expression, freedom of speech. Don't take away, people, people have the right. It's written in law. It's actually the black belt barrister actually said it's written in law. It's actually written in law. that be using abusive words, swearing. These are not crimes. Being hurt, being offended. If it was a crime, then no one would ever get hurt, would they? Because it would be a crime. I, I mean, it's like, so like I said, this American lady, it's absolutely, it, I don't need to say, that what's happened to this American lady, Deborah, is disgusting and evil and whatnot. I don't need to say that. We know that. But it had to happen, and I have to meet this lady. I have to meet this lady. So, and like Graham Linehan, just like Katie Hopkins had to move to America because of how bad this being arrested and being going to court for free speech. I didn't even realize just how much Katie Hopkins' life had been destroyed. She's missed her out on her children's lives, and that was over 20, that was 20, no, nearly 20 years ago. Yeah, nearly 20 years ago, she had to miss out on her children's lives because of, I suppose it's something to do with social media. And she had to be a very, very strong woman because people hated her. So I guess in that respect, I don't perhaps appreciate just how much freedom I've had, maybe. I don't know. I mean, what I'm trying to say is my mother and I are not, you know, technical. If my mother was alive, she'd be 87. I, she shouted in church against the appraisal of my headmaster. People come up to me and say, "Oh, she should get a medal," and all of that. Now, I can't put this. You know, I just what I'm trying to say is people like Katie Hopkins. I can't begin to imagine what. Had I not heard what she said in that interview, I would not have known how much she has suffered. She was saying these things to an American. Well, she was in America. She was saying, I think she was saying it to someone who's American who's interviewing her, who was just absolutely like me, just blown away, thinking, how did you manage to cope with that? But it just goes to show the mentality of people in this country. See, this has been going on for a long, long time. This persecution. And my mother was right. My mother was right. There is a lot of jealousy in this country. It's always been there. There's nothing new under the sun here. Um, this persecution for freedom of speech. I think the Americans had have always been less afraid to say exactly how they feel. And that's why I loved it when Mum's American friend came and stayed, because it just made my mother even stronger, because my mother was like a bit like that. My mother was English, but she also had that Americanization in her, kind of thing. That's I don't know how to say, but that sort of, I'm not afraid to say, I'm not going to take any BS. I mean, how many people of my mother's generation or otherwise would have, I'm talking about English people, would shout in church against the appraisal of the headmaster? I don't even know any Americans that would do that. I think it really my mother was unusually strong, but um you couple that with her no nonsense American friend who just happened to marry into the mafia, um and Italian Americans. Italian people are no nonsense. Like when Mara came here, Mara and her daughter at that awful Congress apartments, that old lady that was abused there, and some, my partner and I had some things going on, and I won't go into that, but they were English Italian. Well, her daughter was English and Italian, could speak Italian. She was English, but she could speak Italian. And Mara's going back to Italy. She's an elderly lady with a Zimmer frame, but she'd be like, "Hey, you, well, I'm not taking any nonsense from you." And she'd do the fingers up. I think, I think Antonia, her daughter, said the police. She said, "You know what my mum's like." The police say to her, "Oh, you're the one with the filthy mouth." But was no nonsense, and she said to me, "You're like a daughter." I think she was in her 80s or 90s. She's very frail with a Zimmer frame, and I mean, I shouldn't talk about astrology, but she actually was married. She was a Cancerian lady, and she said her husband's birthday was the same day as mine. Her late husband, 16th of March. She showed me a photograph. She said, "It give me a miserable so and so," or something like that. Um, and her daughter was, funnily enough, February Pisces lady, just like Anne in New York, who is Italian American, and Antonia is English Italian, and they're both February Pisces. But I remember them saying Italian men can be very aggressive with women, because Antonia, being half Italian herself, she can speak Italian. Her mother's Italian. She said she's married to an Italian man, and she said they could be very um I mean, I like my mother and I like the show Everybody Loves Raymond, which is Italian American family. Ray's father is perhaps a typical Italian man, but Ray is very it's more a case of the women wear the pants, you know. So not so much a typical Italian man, but yeah. But anyway, there we go. Um, I've gone off on one. This was supposed to be a very, 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 very short video, and I've now been speaking for nearly a whole hour. This was meant to be a 5 minute video, and I've done it again. I was going to try and make it 5 minutes. I can't do it. I think sometimes you just have to have a long rant when you're full of so much stress. It's like you're like a constantly like a hot air balloon, like a balloon full of hot air, like just gotta let it out. It's like when you're stressed, you get a lot of wind, you get a lot of gas when you're stressed. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about? And you've got to release it as politely as possible. So this is a polite way to do it. Um, anyway, there we go. But We need real men and real women, as Nick Tanconi said. And I'm very sorry to this Deborah, but I'd really like to meet her because I want to. I'm sick to death of English people. I can't stand English people. I can't stand being English myself, but I am. I am what I am, and I shouldn't be ashamed to be what I am. That's not a good thing. I used to be so ashamed of being English, and I shouldn't be, because you are what you are. It doesn't mean you have to be proud. You are what you are, and make the best of it. That's what I'm doing. Make the best of it. So that's what I'm doing. I've got Irish in me. I couldn't be an Irish dancer, so I'll do the next best thing. When Mum came back from Ireland without me, I didn't go to Ireland till I was 18 or 19 with Mum. We went to Avoca, we went to Ballykissangel, where Ballykissangel was filmed. I sat outside Fitzgerald's. I ruined a woman's, put a, oh gosh, I ruined a woman's antique thing. I put a hot cup on the, oh, stupid thing to do. I thought Ireland was very much like Poland. You get those every now and again. You get those St Mary. Well, actually, it's the pagan Ishtar. Because I know, because I've come out of Catholicism. Praise Yahweh. But every now and again, you get those grottos with the Saint Mary. Get rid of the satanic statue. This is why I'm able, by the way, this is why I'm not offended by Father Ted anymore, because I've come out of the satanic Catholicism. Catholicism is a sanitized version of Satanism. It's an inversion. And if you don't know, then you need to do the research into the Vatican and Freemasonry. Start from there, okay? For anyone who doesn't know, because there are too many rabbit holes. There are so many rabbit holes with Catholicism alone. So I came out of that. I did my first Holy Communion when I was 8. At the age of 13, I thought to myself, I shouldn't be laughing at Father Ted, surely, because I'm a Catholic. Surely I should be offended by this. But because I've come out of the Satanism, the paganism of Christendom and Catholicism, I now know. So none of it offends me. It's fine. It's all nonsense anyway. So Bronya should get rid of, if she hasn't already, get rid of that statue of St Mary. I was with my mother when she bought that statue. I think we bought it in the early 90s in what is it, Westminster Cathedral? I don't know, but it's satanic. Get rid of it. It's not. It's divination. You're not meant to pray. You're not meant to have graven images. You're not meant to pray to people because that's divination. The dead are not conscious. Miriam was the name of Yeshua's mother, and she there's no significance with her. She was just chosen to give birth to our Saviour, and that's it. So, yeah, it's so, like I said, you need to do the research into the history of the paganism and all of that stuff. Yeah, I thought that Poland and Ireland were quite backwards with the not because of the grottos, the Catholic, the St Mary grottos. I just thought, gosh, they're behind with the times. It's just had that feeling. Um, Poland is still a communist country as well. It's just so depressing. embarrassing. Oh my gosh, I went to Auschwitz when I was 16. But then a couple of years later, going to Ireland, I thought, well, it's very similar to Poland. It was very lush. I've got healthier rabbits. Remember that we saw this weird fairy thing with a I genuinely wanted to see a leprechaun. You can laugh at me if you like. Again, it's if you do see a leprechaun or the little people, you're not nuts. It's just that you're seeing apparitions. It's like when my sister and her friends saw me when I wasn't there. You know, what does the Bible tell you? These things are entities, apparitions. You know, if you're looking for ghosts, you're just looking for demons, basically. You're not looking for dead people because the dead are not conscious. It's just a simple way of putting it. Ireland, yeah. So, yeah. So I'm a McCarthy, so I've got apparently a lot of English people have got Irish blood in them. Anyway, that's my tangent over with. I would love to meet that lady. I think because you know, right now I'm looking for someone that you need to find a common ground. You need to be around the right people who have the right. You need to be with people who have the same mindset as you. So Graham Lindenham, I mean, he was funny. I thought he was funny in Alan Partridge as well. But when you find that these people, they think the same as you and they've got passions about the same concerns as you, that really matters. Because I found that not everyone that I've liked on TV or in a movie has been like how I would want them to be in real life. Like oh, what's her name? Whoopi Goldberg. I loved her in Ghost. She I see her on Lefties Losing It with the Rita, what's her name, the Australian lady. They're all, you know, but they're in Hollywood. They've all bought into the, you know, they want to get their paychecks. You know, it's very sad. I like Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore is just like me on her TV show. But my gosh, that clip of her where she's on her knees, uh, but in a sort of almost bowing down to that I got to be careful what I say. The young man who is now a young woman, and yeah, but you know, not even talented, just someone who. Well, anyway, I won't finish that sentence, but like the people who were making these videos about Drew Barrymore, they were saying, well, they want to get their next paycheck. They've got to, but you know, sometimes, but the way she was doing it was in a sort of bowing down to, and it's just such a shame because there's a someone like Drew Barrymore. She, you know, it's very frustrating because she's she's so real. She put there's no one else in Hollywood who would do this. I don't think there's anyone anywhere who would do this apart from me. She put her hairy leg on the table. She said, look at my lovely, glamorous hairy leg, and I'm wearing a crop. And she was pointing to her leg for some reason to the cat, showing the camera, saying, "Look at my hairy leg and my glamorous plastic Crocs." Um, that kind of really that sort of "I don't care, I'm just going to be me on my show" sort of thing. And then it's ruined when they turn the camera to the audience, and the audience are all wearing, everybody, including the cameramen, are wearing face snappies, gags. Everyone in the audience like a, and then she did a tour of her childhood home, and then she goes into a bookshop wearing one of these things, which ruined it, because had it not been for that sort of thing, everything else that she was talking about was, on a sort of, on a way that you can relate as a human being. So I've really gone off on a tangent after tangent, and I had to do that. I'm just fed up with, because I'm in this. It's the things that Graham Linehan was saying was so shocking, and this is what has worried me about my sister, and why I need to meet these people, because there are still some famous people who are celebrities who do know what's going on, and they've got to flee England. Graham isn't even English, he's Irish, and he's got to flee the UK, go to America. And a lot of English people have got to do that as well, and now I'm feeling like I have to do that. And I never ever thought that I would. I feel like I'm caged, I'm boxed in, and I'm like, and on top of everything else that I'm dealing with. So anyway, I'm gonna leave it at that. Shalom.